Good evening. Uh, Before I start my class, I have give some information. Uh, if I lost my connection, please call me. I'm given my mobile number into my chat box. Okay, I start. Uh, this is the second class of BLI 226. Earlier class, I will discuss what is management, the different functions of management, uh, TQM, what is TQM, the housekeeping, different housekeeping operation. One is accession operation, accessioning, cataloging, classification operation. Now I'll discuss, share my presentation today. Discuss this. Today I'll start the you need the stock. What is stock verification? Stock verification is the physical checkup to the total collection of regular, mostly annual interval. During the stock verification, borrowers are required to return books they have borrowed. Libraries are close to the user community. Books are verified with the help of the accession register. On completion of the checking list of missing books is prepared and placed before the authorities for writing of or loss of
Sir,
material. Yes,
your voice is not coming properly.
properly. Okay. I am audible now. Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir,
Yes, sir.
audible.
Yes, sir.
Audible. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir, audible.
Okay. Stock verification means every library organization they have maintained, they have prepared their stock verification in different interval, likely annual, like annual interval weeks, because the stock verification we can found how many books are returned, the borrower, how many books at present in their library. School and college libraries, library is often made to accountable for the loss. In any loss is accountable, is responsible, goes to the librarian, and in some cases even made to pay the lost of for lost books. Different advantages of stock verification. Stock verification helps in identification of lost of books in a library. First advantages: identify of lost of books. Opportunity to staff to get more acquaintance with the library collection. Identification of titles needing repair or replacement. Identification of title fit for discarding. In which books we are weeding out. How many multi-volume of books are kept in library. We can identify it and we can replace it. Help rectification of records such as catalog, self list regarding missing books. Identification of titles in needs of tax, due date slip, book or card replacement. If book card is damaged, so we can identify it, we can replace it. Understanding effectiveness or otherwise of library security system, and through dusting of shelves or cleaning of the books. Books are mostly kept in the shelves. In the time of the stock verification, we can dust of the shelves and cleaning of the books. Disadvantage of stock verification: stock verification is a lengthy process. The library remains closed for a long time. During the stock verification period, library remain closed, partly closed, or most of libraries the fully closed for a long period. Patrons patrons means the stakeholder are required to return books borrowed from the library. Accumulation of the work in acquisition, technical processing sections. The technical and processing section work is stopped during the stock verification time. The best possible security system. No library can claim zero of books. Staff time is waste. This type of activities, staff time is lost during the stock verification time. Different methods of stock verification. First method is the stock verification with accession register. Accession we can put in the details accession register, so we can maintain the accession register, the title of the books, purchase date of the books, in which vendor we have to purchase, the vendor name of the book, vendor list of vendor name of the, and the publication year, just like catalog entry. A team of the stock verification. First, we stock verification with accession register. A team of 2 persons is constituted to carry verification. One person reads the accession number loudly, and the person holding the registers locates the number and puts a tick mark on the number. So, like like 2 persons are constituted for this verification method. One person reads the accession number. Accession number is 5020. Is the persons holding the registers locate the number and puts a tick mark on a number, preferably with pencil. This process is carried out through all the stack holding library collection on completion of the round of the books in the stacks. Similarly, checking is done the issue record at the circulation desk as well the list of the books sent for binding. How, in which type, how many books are going for binding. This is the this type of books is calculated for stock verification. Next is the dummy of accession registers. Accession register, you can reprography, you can xerox the accession registers and tick the pencils to going to the stack. One person is open the books and all the accession register is 20. You can put the you can tick the 20 number of the uh, 20 numbers in the pencil by the pencils to save the original accession registers for from getting savvy with cutting the marking. Stock verification is carried out with the dummy of the accession registers. A plain registers with serial number printed in columns on each page is used for stock verification. The team processed with register to the shelves, and one person speaks accession number of the book and other person stick mark of the relevant number in the register. The whole process is repeated is explained above. Next, the all left out the number of checked with the accession register to get the bibliographic details of the missing number. After completion of the work, we can identify how many books are missing, how many books are lost from our library. We can identify it. Now, next method, stock verification with book card. The method needs formation of two teams to carry out the work. One team collects book card from books and arrange them by serial order. Every book have to keep the book card, and we can one team collect the book card from the book from the book pocket and arrange them by the serial order of the accession number on the card. The second team tick mark the relevant accession number in the registers and replace the card in the book after they are rearranged in classified order. The entire collection is verified, and at the completion of the checking, the list of missing books is prepared from the accession register. The method leaves the register clean, but the method is very cumbersome. Another way to conduct verification is to prepare two books card at the time of preparing a new book for circulation. Next, the numerical counting method. The simplest method. We going to the stack, and I count the how many books are kept in a stack. Then I count the how many books are kept in a stack. Then I count the how many books are kept in a book. Then I count the how many books are kept in a book. Then I count the how many books are kept in a book. Then I count the how many books are kept in a book. Then I count the how many books are kept in a book. Then I count the how many books are kept in a book. Then I count the how many books are kept in a book. Then I count the how many books are kept in a book. Then I count the how many books are kept in a book. Then I count the how many books are kept in a book. Then I count the how many books are kept in a book. Then I count the how many books are kept in a book. Then I count the how many books are kept in a book. Then I count the how many books are kept in a book. Then I count the how many books are kept in a book. Then I count the how many books are kept in a book. Then I count the how many books are kept in a book. Then I count the how many books are kept in a book. Then I count the
Sir, your video is stopped.
one almirah, we can count the 50 books kept in the this almirah. Sorry. Now I am audible.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
sir.
Okay, okay. I lost my connection. Uh, Thank you. Acha, now next is the numerical counting method. This method is stock verification is to count the total collection available in the library, add to it the books out the loan with the binder together with the books awaiting processing, the compare of the figures with the number of the books accession number. The numerical counting method is that we going to the book shelves or book almirah. We can count the how many books are kept in the library. Before counting, it was kept in the almirah is the 100 books. Now we can find the 95 books are there. That five books are missing. This is the very easiest way is the stock verification method. Stock verification, now the stock verification with the self list. Self list is another the card catalog. Self list is the additional catalog of collection which is arranged and kept parallel way to of the books in the library. Sequence wise as well as self wise, the work of stock verification is done by the team of two persons. One person tells the accession number and the other person shall raise the corresponding card in the tray. In this method, more than one team can function simultaneously, each taking up one sequence for the checking word. Every method is are the same, most of similar. The stock verification with self list. One member is the account. One member is the call. The accession number is 1995. Another member is stick the self list 995. Sample stock verification. Now the sam okay. Sample stock verification. Sample stock verification is carried out to get the idea of the vigilance systems of the library. One may choose one of the those subjects areas which are more prone to the mischief, such as fiction, art book, or music score. Any one of the various methods of verification may be adopted for this purpose. Last is the stock verification through blank slips. Blank slip means stock verification through blank slip is very much like the verification with the book card, with the difference that instead of the book card, uniform size slips are used. We are cutting the uniform size of the book card slip, accession number of each book in the cell in this record, and other places are recorded on each slip. Slips are arranged to serial or accession number. The arrangement reveals the missing accession numbers. The list of missing books can be prepared with the help of accession registers. However, the system required much alteration in collecting the slips than during the arrangement of the serial number. Earlier class we only we mentioned the weeding. Weeding is the very much required for every library organization. We all know that the fifth law of the library science, which is discovered or coined by the father of library science, S.R. Ranganathan. Fifth law is the library science is the library is a growing organism. So old books or is much more required for weeding. Removing weeding means such a definition of weeding, removing books not needed one reasons or other from collecting of a library is called weeding of books. Removing books remove is required not needed for one reasons or other from collecting of a library is called weeding of the books. Another term used for weeding is weeding is deselection. Weeding is also called the relegation in some countries, although in the case books are not discarded but transferred to the secondary storage area. Weeding has been defined the practice of discarding or transferring or to storage excess copies rarely used books and material no longer in use. In India, suitable weeding policies is not mentioned. Aims of weeding, in which reasons we can weeding. Number one, the saving space for adding new resources to the collection. Earlier we mentioned the library is a growing organism, so say space is much more required. Saving space for adding new resources to the collection improves access to the resources and thus improves efficiencies in services. Saving money being spent in maintain additional copies and unused, rarely used material, especially is open access system, which is more expensive for maintenance, keeping the collections to library optimum size. Next, the weeding process. The following steps are required for carry out the weeding. Number one, constitution of a team of a senior staff of the library. Identification of titles for weeding out, which collection by which title we first identify for weeding out. Examinations of the titles by faculty members, selection committee in case of the public library or any academic library. Examine faculty members. First, we can call the faculty members, and they selected this type of books is not. This is outdated syllabus. This syllabus is very old, so you can edit this type of collections. Final approval of the library authorities. We can constitute the library authorities, librarian, head of the institutions, senior faculty member of this of that particular institutions. Separation of material fit for relegation and those fit for discarding. Preparation of the list of books for discarding. Preparation of list for secondary storage. Modification of various library records, just like catalogs, help list, accession register for weeded materials. Decisions on way of discarding. Okay. Now the is disasters. All know that the disasters is different types of disasters are coming from. One is the natural disasters, that is flood, earthquake. For these reasons, many library documents is lost. As mentioned, the flood in all know that details in your syllabus. Tsunami, lightning. Now the man-made disaster. Man-made disasters. First is the war and arson. The earliest example of the destruction and damage of the library due to war, as mentioned earlier, in that is that the Alexandria library, which was burnt during war during the regions of the Caesars of the second century BC. In the first of the last century, the two world wars inflicted damages to libraries in most of the European countries. Theft. Although thefts have caused damage not in terms of scales, in the terms of values of the libraries. Most of the books from libraries are scarce and very rare books with painting or some other artifacts. Theft, the loss of the books. Okay. Thank you. Now I going to my next slide. The chapter unit 3, block 3. Divided in your syllabus is 2 to 6 is the fourth block. 1 2 is completed. Now the I mentioned I start my the third block. In this block, the what is financial management, sources of finance and resource mobilizations, budgeting techniques, and the library budget preparation. I can discuss one by one. First, the financial management. What is financial management? Financial management is not just managing cash or providing funds. It is the study of the principles and practice involved in financial operations of an institution and industry. Finance functions is the task of providing funds needed for the enterprise, procurement of funds and their effective utilization. It deals with the problems and procedures of acquiring, distributing, and effectively utilizing funds, balancing of revenues and expenditures, accounting of the entire transaction for better control of evaluation. Various components are financial management are first component is the financial planning is much required for every organization. Financial planning, forecastings or receipts of disbursement, realization of funds and revenues, allocation of funds, utilization of funds, financial accounting, financial control, and financial auditing. Now the sources of fund generate into library. The main source of the finance of for any library is regular grants from the parent body. Just like academic libraries, the parent funding sources funding finance by the UGC in college and university grants commission. The main source of the finance for the library is regular grants from parent body or national state government. In case of public library, state government is main funding agencies. Location of the local library says local library says in public library says they have to charge in local library says and support from municipal and other provisional authorities. Next to the ad hoc grants from other department institutions, private national agencies, endowment and charitable institutions, and certain foreign international supports. Next, fines and miscellaneous source. Some libraries impose fines on the late return of the books. Every library they have maintained their uh, own law. In case of libraries lending the books for duration for 15 days. After 15 days, they impose the fines on the late return of the books, as well as the loss of the misuse of the library card and books. Income from this source is very major. Is the matter of fact, it cannot be considered as a source of income because the aim of fine is not to raise revenue but to compel the user to return the borrowed book in time. Okay. You cannot impose the fine like user or stakeholder they do not return the books in time and not to damage or lost in during is a position. Moreover, in some situation, libraries may not have authority to reappropriate amount collected as fine or overdue charge from other purpose. In addition, the effectiveness of imposing fine is questionable as it may create ill feelings among users or discourage use of the library. Self-generated fund, that is fees-based services. Libraries usually render their service on non-profit basis. Library organization, non-profit organization, so you cannot charge to our stakeholder to impose our stakeholder to cannot charge. Charging for library service is fairly a recent phenomena. Fees of subscription scale of service and miscellaneous revenue earned by the library are ad hoc, non-recurring, and often meant for specific purpose with restriction on reallocation and use. Now, the fund we can fund generate from gift and donation in this nowadays for pressing need for money to run library services. The advent of the ICT library services is expand. All possible sources of funding need to be explored, and if necessary, fund taking library clientele or libraries users into confidence is not wrong. Apart from the grants from government, donation, and gift, various fund generate source have to be tapped, and fundraising activity and campaign have to be launched. One such example is organizing book exhibition. We can generate the fund from organize the exhibition of the books and other friends of the library group in the premises. Gifts and donation are excellent source of supplementary fund for special projects. Citizens are often willing to make significant donation to cover part of the all cost of a new remodel of the library building. However, some care should take in handling gift or donation. ICT in development of ICT, we can appeal to our citizens for giving the ICT equipment, just like laptop, computer. We can appeal in our good citizens in our society. They should not unusual riders of such fund, that is gift and donation should be transferred unconditionally to treasurer of parent organization, local authority or public depository like bank to the financial secretary of the committee of the board. Secondly, no gift, donation or grant from charitable institution be used to justify reducing or replacing the community commitment to public funding. Now the different academic or different academic organization, library various libraries different various one is a public library, now the academic library. I am on okay. And now university libraries in which uh, areas we have to receive the university fund. Most of the university library receive their regular fund from the respective university and special grants from both UGC, University Grants Commission, and state government. The UGC grants are mainly planned grants, whereas the state government grants are mainly non-planned grants. UGC they are funding for plant grants. However, government grants are not given to libraries directly, but government gives grants to the university, and then the university allots to the library the necessary share out of the same. The university grant commissions are mainly three types: recurring, non-recurring, and ad hoc grants. Some university libraries charge fees from their student or stakeholder, the member of the use of the library. A charge or fee library use is not made without protest from the users. These days, there is a growing feeling the university should provide the library services free of charges. Just as provide lecture rooms, laboratories, and other facilities. Now college libraries are received, they are mainly receive their funds from the UGC, University Grants Commission. The three main source of the funds of college library. The principal source is the allocation from the current operation from college authorities, where the college authorities next the different organization different receive fund received from the donations and mm, uh, other sources of income. College libraries are subscription, membership fee, charge from the student, and annual recurring and non-recurring grant from the state government and the government bodies of the institutions. Now, school libraries. Promoting the school library services, school depends very much on the finance. In this case, the primary schools or lower fee rates of the library services can be fixed, as there will be less expensive books needed for the students of lower classes. It is necessary that the entire library fee collected from students should be spent exclusively on the books, on the equipment. Now the library expenditure for planning. There are three major characteristics in the nature of the library expenditure. Library expenditure, one is the library is a spending institution. All know that like we are not the non-profit organization. We are the spending institutions. Libraries, unlike many government departments, are not revenue fetching agencies. On the other hand, libraries are spending institutions and they are participate in the nation building activities. The money spent by the library is a long term investment in human capital. Library is a growing organism. The library documents, readers, and staff always grows. Fifth law of the library is a growing organism. It implies the requirements of the library will always go on the increasing day by day. All this means more expenditure. Library expenditure is recurring, not fixed. Library expenditure not fixed. It's fixed cost. This is the recurring expenses. Libraries are not only the spending and going institutions, but they are also permanent bodies. In an educational advancement, library services will have to maintain a condition rhythm to cope up the academic requirement of the clientele. The means that the library expenditure is recurring in nature. Now, classification of the library expenditure. Uh, generally we spend the money for creation of new building, equipment, furniture is against capital. This is the capital. All the expenditure is capital expenditure, and other items which occur almost throughout the year, like books, periodical, stationery, and postage, binding, and contingency. Salaries and wages are shown against the current expenditure. However, you can classify library expenditure different heads. One is the salary head and wages head, binding head, stationery head, postage, contingencies, books and periodicals, furniture, building renovation, and new building to creation of new building, equipment, and the publication. Now the library budget, the library budget and financial planning. Different various method we can use the library budget. One is the line item or incremental or historical or object of expenditure of budget. This type of budget is the usual traditional method. First, the traditional method which take into account past expenditure on each item, prepares the current budget. The budget is prepared with a small increase of say 5 or 10% for each major item expenditure of the previous years allocating, assuming that all current programs are as good and necessary and termed as incremental budgeting. The other name for line item budgeting is object of the expenditure type of budgeting. Next, the formula budgeting. Formula budgeting based on the financial norms and standards. This method tries to relate some inputs like user served academic programs, supported and ratio of books, stock of total funds, and parent body. The formula are used for financial estimation as well as budget justification. This appears to be board of the quick method and the saves a lot of time, but it does not account for variant in respect of each library. Its customers as well as service. Next, the program budgeting. This method propounded originated a Hoover Commission report has three steps are followed. One is the statement of agencies, that is the library objectives, full considerations of alternative ways and logical selection of the best effectiveness and efficiencies. Last of very important, um, zero-based budgeting. ZBB, this is called ZBB. This method developed by Peter Freed during early 1970s, required through knowledge of the organizations, lot of time, effort and training. It assumes a budget zero for each program until one convinces the appropriate authority that the program holds to while and the deserving support of the specified level. It does not allow to incremental growth of budget. Zero-based budgeting is an operating, planning, a budgeting process which requires each manager to justify entire budget request in detail from zero base. In zero-based budget, should different steps involve preparation of zero-based budget. One is activity program are grouped lowest level entity, objectives and activity. Each program examines an alternative method. Next, ranking the decision packages and the cut point corresponds to total budget allocations. Now, the library budget and financial planning. Library, the budgetary norms and library budgetary norms and standards. How in total funds in different areas we can expenses this we can expenses the different allocation difference like I can the major I can explain the major heads of the expenditure in libraries are books and journals and salary and allowances. Major expenses of the library is the books to purchase to acquire to purchase the books and journals and salaries and allowances of the library staffs, both of which are to be combined to generate service. Ranganathan has suggested that the proportion of the library expenditure of the universities libraries on these major items as is follows. Um, hmm, First, staff salary and allowances 50%, books 20, books and other reading material 40% and miscellaneous is 10%. The University Grants Commission's Library Committee has suggested the university library with 5,000 students and 500 teachers and research fellows should have budgetary provisions for 3,50,000, out of which 1,75,000 would be spent on books on journals and other kind of reading material, and a similar amount on staff, implying thereby that the expenditure on books and staff may be equal. But general trend is to expenditure on the staff salaries trend to be the higher than the books, taking into account the recommendation of the University Grants Commissions, University and Education Commission of the Library Expert. The general norms appear to be as follows: salary and allowances 50%, periodicals now it would be reviewed and uh, salary and allowance 50%, books 20%, periodicals 13%, binding 7%, and other supplies and maintenance is 10%. In case of public libraries, the distributions of more less than same of the major items of expenditure, salaries and allowance 50%, books 20%, periodicals and newspaper 5%, binding 5%, and other is 20% in case of public library. Now the methods of techniques, financial estimation. Some important basis of financial estimations for budget libraries. Check my connection. Some important basis of financial estimation for budget of libraries. Number one, user population and its compositions, material to be acquired, media, nature and type of information sources, services to be provided, unsatisfied service pressures, if any, the most frequent use factor in the determining the financial need of the library, establish national and international standard for quality in service often expressed in a minima for materials, personal and operational fund for a given size of the library, increase in the price of the reading material and inflations. Now the preparation of the library budget. Preparation of the library budget, there are some elements which are essential and common for the different library budget. They are maybe reduced to few guidelines, principles, and applies to the preparation of the library budget. Some guidelines are as follows. Some guidelines preparation of the library budget. One is the library. The librarian should be invited by the authorities to submit the library budget. First, the very important point is the librarian should be invited by the authorities to submit the library budget. The library is turned must consult his or her departmental heads about book funds and the library staff members, about personnel as well as other administrative costs. The final choice of what goes into the budget and how much ask for the should rest with the librarian. The second thing is the librarian should request sufficient fund of each head of the budget to support the sound program of the library development. It is very important to calculate the expenditure by anticipating income, inflation rate, foreign exchange rate, salary increases, insurance rate, public utility charges, as well as time delay. Third, the budget should be prepared and submitted in time. This facilitates recruitment and of additional staff, ordering of material in a proper way. The academic library budget should represent library planning in terms of educational goals, not be simply crisis operation in which the urgent current needs of the hastily converted to the rupee estimate to the meet the budget deadline. The budget should be reasonable, flexible in its execution. Already I discussed in the earlier class, the budget should be flexible in its execution. Classification of the budget categories should enable the library to check the financial record easily against the periodic balance of statements. Now the financial, discuss the financial audit. For financial, why auditing is necessary to the libraries. Financial auditing audit is the very essential part of the library. A financial audit is conducted to provide an opinion whether financial statements are stated in accordance with specified criteria. Audit is necessary in libraries to check whether the allotted budgetary funds are spent according to the financial procedures, rules, and norms. It seeks to the control irregular, inappropriate, and wasteful expenditure. Audit reports are invariably consulted by the administrative and financial authorities to satisfy themselves that the allocated fund have been spent properly and lawful. Libraries and information center normally have post audit by external central statutory auditor. তাহলে library and information center they have maintained their audit to post audit by external or statutory auditor who usually look into the loss of reading material, irregularities of procurement process, and outstanding advance payment as well as the suppliers. There are two types of audit system in our country, that is pre-audit and another is the post-audit. Government department and libraries generally follow post-audit. Post-audit means that the drawing and disbursing officer prepare the bill, signs them, and sends them to Treasury Bank for payment. The drawing and disbursing officer is responsible for the correctness of the bill. The officer or the librarian must satisfy himself fully before signing the bill in the post-audit system. Only random audit is required, restored after financial year comes to close. Every item is not checked, but the some months are selected random payment occurring during the selected months are truly the minutely verified. Mistakes, if any are pointed out, the person's consult is advised and warned to the cautions in futures. The librarian's responsibility is very much important in audit system. Like all responsibility goes to the librarian before signing the bill. The fourth block is the human, last and final block is the human resource management. What is human resource management? Human resource management is a strategic and coherent approach to the management of an organization's most valued assets, the people working there who individually and collectively contribute to the achievement in objectives. Need for human resource management. Among other resources of an organic, human resource are the only organic living force capable of acquiring new knowledge and skills, recharge themselves according to environmental requirements, prone or to flexibility and grow endlessly. Force that can transform all the other resources into tangible products and services, as other resources will remain idle and unused. Resources that has knowledge and skills, ability to capabilities, competence and control to build up the organizations, develops its future growth, development, goodwill and reputation. Resources that can bring about an organizational culture, do the strategic planning and operations and introduce any new technology. Human resource management in library information center. How far human resource management principles and practice relevant to situations obtaining of Indian library and information centers? Most of public libraries have developed in states where public libraries acts are in the operation. In other states, they are part cultural act functioning through government funding. As these institutions are parts of the parent body, they are governed by the policies and practices of their parent bodies. Even a larger libraries attached to the university and college, research complexes and other institutions and public or private sector undertaking, the ideas of HRM are not operative. The administrative departments of these parent bodies deal with the staff, personnel, mostly the relation to the salary and allowances, discipline and control, training and reputations, performance, appraisal through confidence reports and such others. Some of the modern management concepts like human resource management may be operative in a limited way for personal development. In some institutions, mostly at the top management level, never relocating to lower levels. In the current situations, obtaining of Indian libraries and information centers, HRM, human resource management principles and practice may not be fully relevant. But in the first context of the library information centers, particularly with of Indian National Knowledge Commission (NKC), giving a significant place in knowledge management in the country. Libraries and information center will be reasonable good chance to implement some aspects of human resource management principles and practices. Last, the final, the participative management. What is participative management? Participative management has been defined as both philosophy and method of managing human resources in an environment in which employees are respected and their contribution valued and utilized. From a philosophical standpoint, participative management centers on the belief that people at all levels of organizations can develop a genuine interest in its success, can do more and merely perform their assigned tasks. The various advantages of participative management. One is the increase in productivity. It means an increase, say, in decision making means that there is a strong feeling of association now. The employees now assume responsibility and take charges. There is lesser new or delegation or supervision from the manager. working hours may get uh, stretched on their own without any compulsion or force from the management. All this leads to increased productivity. There is a not fixed in time for working hours. You can maintain, you can adjust your time to present to admit or to present in library organization. uh, Flexibility is required. Flexible, if the flexibility is required, the productivity is increase. So next is the job satisfaction. Job satisfaction is very much important in participative management. Lost in lot of organizations that employ participative management, most of the employees are satisfied with their jobs, and the level of satisfaction very high. This is especially when people see their suggestions and recommendations being implemented or put or practice psychologically. This tells the individual employees that he too has say in decision making, and he too is the integral component of the organization, not the mere worker. That is the next is the motivation. Motivation increase productivity, and the job satisfaction cannot exist unless there is a high level of motivation in the employee. Improved quality. Improved quality means the feedback comes from the people who are part of the process or and the lowest or execution level. This means that even the details are the minutes, the details are taken care of the reported. The reduced cost. There is a lesser need the supervision and more emphasize the winding of skill, self-management. This is the quality control means that is the cost of control automatically. Thank you all. uh, Stop my presenting. I try I try to cover the all the sections in this unit of BLI 226, the block 1, block 2, block 3, block 4. Uh, if you are required any questions, you can call giving my phone number after the class. Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
If, thank you. If you arises any questions, you can call me up.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you.